Hello, everybody. My name is Austin Bram, and I am the AI evangelist here at EverWorker. And today is our newest edition of our EverWorker Live series, where today we're going to be interviewing my friend here, my colleague, Alexandru, who you have probably seen many times at this point, but we're going to be interviewing him about a compliance AI worker that he created and kind of seeing all of his thoughts around that. But before we get started, Alexandru, would you mind just giving everyone that doesn't know you a brief introduction on yourself?
Sure, thank you, Austin. So my name is Alex. I am principal engineer at EverWorker, and my role is to handle complex scenarios, right? Whenever we need to do things like compliance, what we are going to look at today, and whenever we have a novel use case, right? My background is in AI, edge computing, so accelerated computing on the edge, offline AI, whenever you need it. Right, but today we are going to look at the cloud use case. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Alex. All right, and before we get started, I want to kind of take everyone through just a brief presentation for everyone here to kind of set the stage, as well as this week we did have some big announcements that we want everyone to be aware of. But first thing is going over our agenda. So we're going to more or less go over what is an always-on agentic AI workforce or AI workers. And then we're going to be introducing our new EverWorker V2 platform, as well as Alex will then be introducing his compliance AI worker and then showing a demo on it. And then we'll actually kind of interact to see exactly, what can be changed, how can it be applied to you, which will then directly go into how can you approach employing, we like to call it employing, this compliance AI worker as well as other AI workers into your business, with some example use cases, and then a free certification course at the end, as well as some Q&A. But before we kind of go even further, I always like to set the stage. This is supposed to be interactive. This is meant to be fun. So for those of you that are watching, thank you very much for joining us. And if you're on LinkedIn, you can leave comments and we can see the comments. If you're on YouTube, you can leave comments as well. But it's more or less like in a chat interface. And however you're watching, feel free to ask questions, be as interactive as possible, because we want this to be for you at the end of the day. All right, so the first things first is, what is an AI worker? So traditionally in this space, you hear things like AI agent, agentic AI, but whenever you think of AI agents, you can think of like Gen AI, so ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, whatever it is, plus tools or actions so that it is doing a task for you, doing something for you. But when we think of AI workers as another step further from there, we believe that AI workers do more holistic work for you and with you, not just tasks here and there. So these AI workers, they can analyze, they can understand, they can decide, they can execute, and they can learn, all with either autonomously or minimal feedback from yourself. So we're always like, to be very honest, that it is still important to have a human in the loop, obviously, for almost all use cases, like we'll even talk about with Alex and in his demo. But then that kind of leads to what is like interacting with an AI worker look like? So traditionally, you would be here in this kind of simplistic view where you have your instructions, which is going to be your prompt, what you want it to actually do. You're going to have your knowledge, and then it's going to have skills that it can actually call to and do. So the instructions and the knowledge are always going to be interacting with the LLM. In this case, that is the brain of your worker. And then the LLM and our actual worker itself it can tell you, hey, you have these different APIs that you're connected to. These are the different tools that you can work with, that you can also set up yourself. But that kind of goes to introducing our new EverWorker V2 platform, which is a complete rebuild of our EverWorker V1 platform that we've actually been demoing on all these live streams, as well as we'll continue to demo it today because since it's brand new this week, all of our AI engineers, workers are, of course, on V1, but as we keep growing and keep building up on V2, we'll just, integrate and seamlessly go over to our V2 platform. There is no engineering that is required. You can even speak in just normal conversational language, and then all this can be tailored to your business by connecting via APIs to your internal more or less systems, or any system that has an API out on the website or out on the internet or wherever you have this, it can connect to it as well as connect to your internal knowledge, any knowledge that you want to take documents, drag and drop, throw it into the database so that your AI workforce always has that context of your business, which is what we all want. As well as you have the expertise that is built in because of things like this, where we get to meet with our amazing AI engineers and see exactly how, why, the what's behind building these sophisticated AI workers. And then the more that we do this and the more that you see these videos, the more that you'll realize, oh man, like I can start automating this. I can start automating that. And that's where it starts to snowball and you start to really realize the future of the AI workforce. So the first thing that we like to always see here is that this is going to be your fastest path to an always on agentic AI workforce. AI workers don't need time off. They work 24/7 as much as you want. They don't get sick. They don't get burnt out. And this is all going to be almost simulating someone from your own team. Whereas you have your human organizational chart, you will also have an AI workforce organizational chart. And then here's we have our EverWorker creator, which is kind of actually a new system and a new way to even view AI workers and agentic AI in the first place, that we've kind of created this way that you can create AI workers with an AI worker. So all you have to do is, like you see here in this image, it is a normal chat interface that we're all used to. And you just talk, hey, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And then it will say, oh, you want to do these things? All right, here's the actual worker. And it will build it for you and with you, asking you questions along the way. But so now that no longer requires, obviously, any coding. It really doesn't even require you to understand how to use a drag and drop canvas, although you still can, which is very, very interesting. And we haven't seen this anywhere else. We believe that we're redefining the industry with this EverWorker creator. But then we have our universal workers. And you can think of this as your team lead who has deep knowledge of your business, like one of your best managers at your company. It has the knowledge of, these are my policies. These are the different systems that we connect to. This is our brand guidelines. Whatever that you want this AI worker to understand, the universal worker will sit on top, basically, that you can interact with it in a normal chatbot interface. It can talk to the specialized workers. Like if I have a live stream worker or a marketing worker, this universal worker can actually speak to these specialized, skilled workers and actually interact with them and more or less do the work all through one universal kind of interface, which is our universal workers. But then we also have our universal connector, which I've done many, many videos on before on our YouTube channel, interviewing our chief product officer, Anton Antich, who kind of created this as well, where you don't need any MCP servers, you don't need any A2A protocols. All of it is built directly into our platform, so that all you need is an API to connect to any service, like I've mentioned, but then also all of our agents and workers can actually seamlessly connect and talk to each other just within our own platform. So we take care of all of the complexity that happens underneath the hood, so that all you have to worry about is just this beautiful AI worker that is helping you and augmenting your work. And of course, this is a huge topic for anyone that in an industry that is trying to implement AI. The real question always comes down to, what is the ROI? Is there real ROI? There are some people that are saying there is no actual ROI or actual increase in revenue or EBITDA with AI. And this is obviously shown that this is not true, and that we are actually seeing real revenue and EBITDA increases through implementing an AI workforce. And now is the time, as more and more people are getting used to what an AI workforce is, what does it do, and augmenting their whole business with AI rather than trying to catch up in 5 years when people are already 5 years ahead of you. So we believe that your next compliance AI officer or your compliance officer is going to be an AI worker. Now, of course, this can be, compliance auditor, whatever it may be. You'll see exactly when I bring Alex in after this, going over his worker that he built. that this can be true for different functions, and it can actually be changed and slightly added to, taken away from, add different skills onto it to kind of fit your use case. So now let's kind of dive in. Let's bring Alex back in here. And Alex, when we're getting started here, if you wouldn't mind, could you actually just tell us what is this compliance AI worker? Why did you build it? What's it for? All the kind of the what, who's, and hows.
Sure, thank you, Austin. So this compliance worker actually stemmed from one of our active use cases, and the use case was financial documents checking, where a lot of the clients were handwriting these. So they were using pen and paper, and they were writing some of the required details on these forms. And then uh, there was such a long process to validate those documents, get back to the client, and ask for those details, right? And it was this use case that got us this agent, right? But there are so many other use cases where we see perhaps uh, an an older group of people that is not that familiar with tech and always prefers to sign and fill documents using pen and paper. And the question is, right, for those use cases where uh, the clients, because of one reason or another, just prefer pen and paper, what do you do? Do you hire an army of people that are going to process all of that documents, or are you trying to integrate them in your digital flow? So this is how we created this demo, and I will show you what it does behind the scenes.
Yeah, great.
And just a brief overview of the high level architecture before we see how it actually works. Right, so this is first of all going to start with some basic information, and it's configurable this way as well. So it needs an email address to listen to, so it will poll this email and it will get emails sent to this email address. Of course, it's the scheduler that runs this will generate a token for Microsoft. This is expired. You can try it out, but it is expired. Right, and then there will be an email ID, and this is the current email that has just been sent. And of course, there is a confidence we can tune. So we can say that we want warnings for fields uh, above this threshold. So we
Got it.
can perhaps tune this to 97% to be absolutely sure. But because of this, we are very likely to see a lot of warnings. So we will
Alex,
actually test that.
can you explain to everyone, just maybe that isn't used to seeing like things like confidence score? What does that actually mean?
Very good point, Austin. So confidence is that threshold above which an assumption of the AI or an observation of the AI is considered good enough. So it's the equivalent of asking the AI, how sure are you of what you're telling me? If you are not over 95, 97% sure, don't even bother, right? And just don't tell me that. So it's basically the equivalent of that. Tell me
Okay.
only and only if you are that sure of it.
And I would probably think that in this case it would be it might be even like it might change, depending on what the actual form is. What are you trying to have it do? Maybe one time you need it to be 94%. Next time it's 70% is fine. It could probably change, I assume, right?
Hmm. Yeah, of course, and it's actually it's something we see in real world scenarios, because a lot of the documents are scanned, right? So especially for pen and paper use cases, those
Yeah.
documents are scanned, and the scan quality is not always the best. I mean,
Yep.
it's one thing when you do it with a specialized scanner, and it's completely different when you do it with your phone and the free app from the Play Store.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are
Yep.
limits to tech. So
Yep. For sure.
Yeah, and in those cases, the system will still work. It's just that the AI will be slightly confused. And
Yeah,
to have the system work, we may reduce this to even 80%, for example. But that's in only when we have very bad quality data.
sure.
Okay, and right, once we configure all of that, and I just clicked save, so this is now at 97%. Right, we first get the attachments. For that email we can have more, one or more, but we will just do one for the sake of the demo. For every attachment, we will validate it. We will validate that form and extract the data, see what's missing, what's not. Right, and let's remember that the confidence level was quite high, so 97%. Right, and then based on those results, we will generate the email and send the reply to the user. So now,
Got it.
yeah, let's send a new email to our special email address.
And you can, of course, change, like in this case was like, or demo.everworker or whatever it is. That can be changed to whatever email address that you have access to, basically. If you have shared inboxes, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could have this. I mean, this reminds me of the account payable agent we have, which is
Right.
doing something similar, but it's monitoring AP at everworker.com and
Yep.
.ai, right? And that takes all of the invoices and so on. But please don't email that address. Yeah, forget I mentioned that. So yeah, but no worries, it's smart enough to tell who's sending the invoices and if those are approved or not. So any emails can be set. It can be a shared mailbox. It could be contact@yourcompany.com. So the
Okay.
sky is the limit.
Sure.
And what the agent will do is that once the email will come in, it will pick it up, retrieve the attachments, and then for every attachment, it will go through this very process where it will use the form and confidence passed by the higher level agent. So this agent is registered as a sub agent. We use sub agents whenever we want to simplify the flow and take slightly more complex processing like this one, wrap it up, and then perhaps reuse it in different places. So in
Yep.
the higher level agent, we just integrated this with email, but we may also integrate this with Salesforce. And this
Sure.
is what actually happened in production for this use case. But for the
Okay.
sake of the demo, we integrated it with Outlook. So I think
Yeah.
we also actually got the email, right? So, dear John Smith, thank you for submitting. So remember that we set the threshold pretty high.
Yeah.
So it's saying that some information may be missing or incomplete, but please follow this. Please check these details. We can check the result here. Right. And
Okay. So it downloads like a CSV for you.
yeah, and we can see the policy holder is being extracted, right? So this is right. Claimant is not on the other side. Insurance policy number, address, occupation, and
Yep.
let's perhaps also see the document I just sent. Oh, can we? Yeah. Right, and let's make this bigger. Hopefully, big enough. So we can see, yeah, policyholder has been filled out, but claimant has not. Right, insurance policy TG up to 9, yeah, very unique policy number, plus address, hashtag 0501 Singapore, yeah, all good.
Yep.
Even email address, telephone number, right, purpose of the trip, and I hope you can see, but this is a checkbox, and it was able to extract that. So place of accident, description, I barely understand what I wrote here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the AI is clearly doing its best job, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So, but still, it's doing an awesome job figuring out what I wrote there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
So,
that's probably one of the harder the harder parts, traditionally speaking, when it comes down to AI trying to read handwritten notes or whatever is there. All of us, like you saw in my one that I sent you, like all of us have vastly different ways of handwriting, and sometimes we don't have the best handwriting, a lot of us.
Yeah, and it's just so different, right? I mean, if we send the form you sent me, so yeah, come on. After that, we should also, yeah, we should see it here. So, right, it's a completely different handwriting,
Yeah.
and it's also a different form, if you notice, right? I mean, that form I sent had 2 pages, right, and it was completely different. This one has a different number of pages, different structure, so different form altogether. However, we
Okay.
will see that this information is also extracted,
Yeah.
right, and we will see also checkboxes being interpreted or not, right? If
Yeah.
not, they will be left as empty.
Yep.
So yeah,
Alex,
injury, please.
what would you say, like, just for maybe those of us that don't have the expertise as you do, especially in the history with, even things like OCR, AI applications in the first place. What would be the significance behind the fact that it doesn't matter what form that you give it, that it can still read it? I remember you mentioning that that's a very hard thing to do. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, for sure. So the significance of being able to read any form, right, is that you're not. So this shows that you're not just going to go to specific places, right, and just extract the data. So let's also download this. Right, so you won't just extract the data as it is, which would completely remove the spatial nature of the form. So
Mm,
in when after we extract the data and put it in a CSV, right, there is no telling what the original shape of the document was, so this
yep.
is just a flat form. However, if we look in the original form, right, that has some spatial meaning. I mean, if you make an X here versus here, that's a different choice. And
Yep.
that's something regular OCR would not do. It would just extract that content, but you won't really know what was the original choice,
Yeah.
to put
What
it
were they
that way.
associated with? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's especially true for tables as well, right? So this table, the spatial information of this table would be lost using regular OCR. There are advanced forms of OCR, I'm not saying no, that are able to do this, but generally, what regular RPA and OCR does is to extract specific formats. And
Yeah.
once those formats change, the system breaks, and you need to update it, bring in that form again. It gets even worse when you have very specific forms or data. One good example being quality checks for food products, right? Especially
Yeah.
for very sensible products like eggs. Some of those may have the expiration date using full lines or dotted lines, and that's a big distinction to make for OCR. Are you able to read full lines? Okay, that's one thing, but are you able to read dotted lines? Mm, Because OCR models break when you change that sort of thing.
Yep.
While what we can do, even though this is a completely different format, completely different handwriting. So and even different geographies. I'm from Romania, you're from the US. So I mean, we are covered around the globe on that
Yep.
matter, right? We can see destinations, illnesses. So apparently you went to Venus, right? Did
That's
you? I
right.
mean, so yeah, it looks like it's right. So all
Yeah.
of that was extracted.
Okay. Well,
However, please.
no, no, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
What I was going to say, if the time still allows, is that in all of these use cases, right, what would be nice to see is a unified format, because in this case we fundamentally cared about what the issue was. We had several travel insurance claim forms. Some of the In the first form, we were we saw a complaint about baggages. In your form, we saw a complaint about an injury. But what if we fundamentally want to see, okay, what does the person complain about, and how do we route that to the appropriate department?
Okay.
So for that, what I would quickly do to show how this works is that after the extraction process happens, so after the page extraction happens, where we extract the image to preserve the spatial aspect of the page, how the tables look like, how the checkbox, where are the checkboxes placed, and so on. We have a multimodal LLM node that's designated to extract the data from every page. And this node is configured by natural language using a prompt, with the output format having a value plus a confidence. And the requirements are to output a single JSON object at the end with this format. However, we can say that only output the fields specified below, right?
Yep.
And go and say, so perhaps a different. So let's say full name. What else?
Maybe like email
departure.
or something, or,
Departure location. Yeah, perhaps email.
And this whole idea of what you're doing right now is the fact that it can be completely customizable depending on what you want it to be. So rather than just an off-the-shelf, you're stuck into this form, exactly what we have it do, like take it or leave it. We can completely change and modify to make it uber specific to what we want very easily.
Yes, absolutely. It's a matter of opening the studio and telling the platform what you want. And telling the platform what you want is something we brought to the next level in V2, right? So this is one of the very last agents done in V1, which are going to get ported into V2 automatically, right? But soon we're going to see how much easier this process becomes. So now the pages were extracted. And what we can quickly see in the return, right? So for the first page, we see only full name, email address, departure, location, and issue claim reason.
Got it. Yep.
So name.
So you made it very, you narrow it, like, although the forms you and I filled out were like 3 pages long or something like that. We only cared about 3 things in this instance, right? So it only pulled out those 3 things.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, look, you see this one being empty. This is one of the aspects that will happen automatically in V2, right? So, I mean, the reason for the claim is mentioned only later on in page 3, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
While here, what I tried to do was to output it for every page. And what we can say, all right, so it's an iterative process, and say that if the desired information is not on the page, output an empty JSON.
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of the whole idea of what, like, of being able to do iterative processes in a very agile and quick way, rather than having, oh, it's not exactly what you want, send it to your IT team, your AI team. It takes 3 months for them to come back to you to add something very easily.
Yeah.
You just do it right there.
Yeah, and that was it, right? And I was just able to start another iteration, and now we're going to see the results live. So it's just that fast and easy.
And I feel like that's kind of what goes into how do people start to implement this into their own use cases. Is you've seen now Alex twice in this, changed it on the fly, and especially one time changed it, then he realized, okay, it's not giving exactly what I want, and then all he had to do was add one more sentence in to the system prompt. And even if that comes back with not what he wants again, all that he's doing is like under a minute each time, to then save, hours later, rather than having, like I said, sending it to your IT team, your AI team, to make these iterations. You can make them on the fly right there. And then, like you said, our V2 is going to make it even easier. And there's even more and more things that obviously that this can be used for. Alex and I just used this random use case because that's what we thought of at the time, but it can be changed for many different aspects of your compliance work, your finance teams, like you mentioned, anything that has to do with reading handwritten notes. It doesn't even have to be handwritten in this case. It's just that's a harder thing to do. We're just trying to show that you can connect to these different systems to do all these very complex things, like in the case of AI reading handwritten notes. So there's a lot of very cool and interesting things that you can do when actually interacting with these AI workers. And I kind of want to come back to this just real quick, is just some other ideas. There's some like continuous monitoring and audit readiness worker. You have a regulatory updates and impact analysis AI worker, due diligence and risk assessment AI worker. And you can see below all the kind of maybe things that would go into that AI worker. And these are just some random ideas. And you can then start to visualize the fact of like, okay, if we combine all three of those workers that are on the screen right now on top of Alex's compliance AI worker, you are really showing a full workforce. Basically, you're showing real holistic work that a human would be spending hours, weeks, sometimes months doing this type of work. And it's kind of meshing all of them together so that it is under one, in this case, let's say compliance AI workforce. And then you have your sales team AI workforce, marketing team, whatever it is. And you can then start to realize the more and more things that you can start to iterate on, just like how Alex said, on adding more agents and more workers to your actual workflow. And if you're interested in having any of this in what you've seen and having it integrated into your own work, we have three main options of how we work with customers. Is that we do have a discovery workshops where you can bring us in and actually we'll meet with your team. We'll kind of teach you what needs to be go into becoming maybe an AI first company, and how you can actually think about implementing AI workers into your business. We can identify some of those use cases, those best use cases with you, to then have Alex and his team build these POCs alongside of you. But then we also have just, more or less Alex and our other solution engineers teams role in the first place, what they do every single day is that they have customers coming to them saying, these are the list of things that we want this to do, this AI worker to do. We'll work with you back and forth, but you just create them and then come back to us when we're done. That's another huge aspect that we like to do, is more or less just act as the AI engineers for you, rather than you having to go out and spend an arm and a leg to hire a whole team of AI engineers to code this themselves. That would take forever and a lot of money. But then also we have our on-site and off-site training, which is all about teaching you how to start thinking about the AI workforce in general. And that kind of leads down to the idea of our AI Fundamentals for Business Professionals course, which is a free course that anyone can take that will teach you how to think about the AI fundamentals specifically in business. Now, we're going to continuously add on more courses in the future, but we thought this would be the best place for people to start, as the AI workforce is becoming more and more popular in the lexicon of business. And it's very important for you to stay up to date on all things that are happening in the agentic AI world and just the AI world in general. So if you're interested in taking this free course, I'm going to say it again, free course, you can head over to workeracademy.ai, sign up and register and take this course. And if you do, and if you take it and you finish it and you get this certificate at the end, make sure to tag us on LinkedIn. I would love to repost you and kind of show your network that you are someone that is taking this seriously and trying to learn about the AI future. But besides all that, Alex, thank you so much for taking us through your compliance AI worker. I'm super excited to see how this integrates into our V2, some of the other workers that you're going to build. And I'm really excited for, we're going to be having you on at least once, maybe twice a month to show us types of things like this. So thank you for your willingness to teach our audience here how to think about AI workers. So I appreciate you joining today.
Thank you, Austin, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone that is watching. We'll have this up on our website, our YouTube, as well as our LinkedIn after the fact if you'd like to re-watch it and or send it to others. But besides that, thank you all for joining us today, and we will talk to you next time. See you next week.